So let's get started, Goku. Thanks for being in my channel. It's called Mindfulness with Manish. As you know, it's my name is Manish, of course, as you know. So mindfulness is because I started to connect with like-minded people, all about like talking about things yoga, fitness, lifestyle, travel, entrepreneurship. It's like very generic topic. And the reason I invited you is because I know you from few classes which you attended in my yoga and chai, which I started with another partner. I know you have your own classes of yoga. You are into fitness. You have your own journey into yoga. Would like to hear and share your stories with the audience, and I think we will benefit from your journey. So the goal for this particular podcast, which I think is how to deal with stress and depression in professional life. We are all tech professionals. Some people work in finance. Some people work in as a fitness professional. There's different people, white collar job, blue collar jobs. Everyone has stress in terms of getting divorced or girlfriends going away or maybe finances have a problem or something like family issues, and there's tons of other things, right? Stress can happen in number of ways. So that's the topic. Let's talk about your life, your introduction, like where you come from, where you were born, how you came into this yoga or martial arts industry. Let's start with that, and we can go from there.
Perfect.
Okay.
Sounds good. And thank you so much, Manish, for hosting me. This is such an honor and a privilege to be here, for sure. Like, this in of itself is wellness, connecting with each other and just having these authentic connections to just release and express ourselves authentically and just be. So a little about me, Goku, named after the Dragon Ball character. So the name is...
Is that a full name? Like, what's your full name?
Goku Sun Cloud. So
Goku Sun
it's
Cloud.
my full name, born name.
S-U-N Cloud.
S-O-N.
S-O-N
Yes,
Cloud.
Yes.
Cloud means like cloud, as in
like a cloud in the sky. But the name itself comes from the Dragon Ball character. And Goku in Dragon Ball means warrior who has transcended above the heavens. It's broken down by Chinese characters, and in fact it's influenced by Wukong, the Chinese monkey king from Journey to the West. And what's interesting about that is that particular character was inspired by Hanuman, the monkey god of strength and loyalty, right? So they're all kind of interconnected, and I kind of channel one of those three things.
So did your mom, dad name you as
Yeah.
Goku? Okay, got it. Because Goku is kind of a character which we all know from Japanese anime.
Exactly.
Muscular, and you kind of look like that.
It's the blonde hair, right?
And
The
blonde
super
hair.
side.
Is that natural hair?
It's not natural. No, my wife's a Japanese hairstylist, so like, yeah, she did my hair. I actually did it with the intention of trying to go
You
to
should have a
Super
Goku
Saiyan.
hair, you know?
I know, right? Yeah.
Nice.
But it's the name has been a journey in of itself. Like, I was born in Texas, but my heritage is Russian and Mongolian. My parents are Asian themselves, and they grew up just loving both Journey to the West and Dragon Ball. And my dad wanted to name me Wukong, but my mother ended up choosing the name Goku because she thought that was more authentic, and Wukong felt like more of like, Wukong literally means monkey king, so it was like a little less powerful. I don't really know the deeper meaning behind that in her choice, but I just kind of lived with it and didn't realize I was consciously named after this character until I was about 13 years old, when Dragon Ball Z came to the US. Yeah, and then I was like, wait a minute, that's my name.
So basically your name happened before Goku came in.
Oh yeah. So
Okay.
the manga originally came out in like 1984. So it was already out.
What is manga?
Manga is a Japanese comics.
Okay, that comics which created
the anime. And the anime, I believe, like 1986 is when the anime started dropping. So she collected both the manga and watched the anime as well, and was really big into it. Now, it didn't actually come to the US for a couple of years, but she didn't watch it originally here. She watched it in Russia. So she had a little bit access to that a little bit sooner. And my father, of course, being Mongolian, he loves Chinese culture. He loves Journey to the West. He loves those types of things. And you think like a lot of Mongolian people kind of don't get along with Chinese, but my father's pretty open-minded about that and loves.
So your father is from Mongolia?
He's Mongolian.
And your mom?
Russian.
Russian, okay. How did they meet?
So that's a long story as well. They actually both came here to the United States, immigrated here, and they fell in love in college, and you kind of know where that tattle still story goes from there. So I started doing martial arts when I was 5. So I got into Tong Soo Do when I was young. Tong Soo Do is a Korean martial art, and I eventually transitioned into Taekwondo. Picked up karate a little bit through high school, middle school, And then when I was 19,
In the US?
Yes, in the US. So it was
Okay.
all the US. So my parents moved a lot. So I was born in Texas. We lived in Oregon. We moved back to Texas when I was in middle school. And then I moved up to Michigan when I was in high school, graduated in Michigan in 2006. And kind of just, I was supposed to graduate like in May, but I got out early because I was doing dual enrollment classes with the college. So I got out like April. And so I packed up my bags. I said, love you, parents. And then I just took my car, $500, and I left and went to Florida. So
When was that?
2006, yeah, I just
2006,
up and
okay.
left, yep. And 2006, that's kind of when the yoga came to me. So yoga and wellness and this like great adventure, like to just be out on my own and kind of get away from the expectations that like an Asian culture wants for you to like go to school, do this. Thankfully, my parents were they were at that point close-minded to me doing what I want to do. They were very scared and worried about my sake for like what I was going to be doing, and they wanted to hold me accountable. Like they wanted me to like get a degree, get a safe job, do all these things. And I said to myself, that just doesn't feel aligned with who I am, right? Like I was named after a character that's like this, supposed to be this powerful person. I want to live a powerful life. I want to take my life back. My whole life I get questioned like, that's not your name. Like, show me your ID. So like, I walk around the street.
I see.
I have to show my ID. Like almost.
When you say your name is Goku, people say you are telling false or something.
Yes, I'd say good 50% of the time, people are like, huh? Like, no way. Show me your ID.
Because Goku is not a regular name.
Right. And that's another good point. Like, I thought to myself, Goku is such a strange name. Yes, it is. But then I've got friends named Jesus, Jesus, like Mexican people.
Like
named
Indians
after a
have
god.
names like Hanuman.
Right,
Ram.
Hanuman, exactly.
They can have names like that. Why not Goku?
Exactly.
Which makes sense.
Precisely. So that's how I've kind of come to terms with my name.
Yeah.
And I've got a baby on the way. And I told my wife, I'm like, if we have a boy, we're naming him Gohan. Like
Gohan?
Gohan. That's
Gohan is
Goku's son from Dragon Ball.
Goku's son. Oh, wow.
So I came down there. I had all this experience with martial arts. I didn't do sports in school. I did gymnastics a little bit. I did cheerleading a little bit. I did wrestling a little bit. But mostly my physical career, my wellness career, was shaped around just being fit, going to the gym, swimming, martial arts. Then I discovered yoga. And I discovered the yoga studio in Cocoa Beach, Florida, Bikram Yoga. And I was like, that sounds cool. Like, you get to move in postures, you get to hold postures for long periods of time, you get strong, you're in a heated environment, it's challenging to the mind and the body. And that's, from what I can remember, how they advertised it, right? Bikram was just something very new to me. Like, it wasn't like you're standing in a uniform, being yelled at, told like, okay, right foot in front, kick, punch. You know, it wasn't this like militaristic component. It was a little bit more invitational practice. Wear what you want that's comfortable, drink lots of water. But then I learned that Bikram was a style of yoga that's very, very, very specific. Like there are ways to do your Bikram yoga practice.
Did you actually get trained from Bikram?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I met Bikram quite a few times. He came to the studio. There's a not love relationship there. Like,
and then Bikram flew somewhere, some things happened. We
Yeah,
are not going into that, it's a different conversation.
Yeah, totally fine. Yeah, totally fine. Like, it just fell apart in that way. But I still loved yoga. And I was at this transitionary state where I wanted to continue my martial practice. I wasn't really wanting to have your traditional relationship. I had gone through a couple heartbreaks, really, really bad heartbreaks from high school and in my first stages of college. Growing up Buddhist, I said, what if I pursue monkhood? And I learned from, Dragon Ball and just comics or news or whatever, like about Shaolin monks. And like they do these Buddhist practitioners that could do like, martial arts too. And I was like, dude, that sounds awesome. And so I looked into it and found out that you can, in fact, go train with the Shaolin monks. So I decided to do that and become a monk.
Why do they call Shaolin monks?
So Shaolin is a Chinese word that means little forest. Shao meaning little, Lin meaning forest.
Okay.
And it was created in Dongfeng, Henan, China. I learned that the Bodhidharma, an Indian master of yoga and Hinduism and Buddhism, actually brought a form of yoga martial arts called Kalaripayattu to the Shaolin Temple. And at that time, the monks, many thousands of years ago, in like 1200, I don't remember exactly the year, he brought this style of yoga to help the monks protect themselves while also deepening their understanding of inner peace, sutras, understanding of medicine that evolved from Ayurveda into Chinese medicine, that came from their evolution of Kalaripayattu evolved into Shaolin Kung Fu or Shaolin Wushu. And when I learned that later, I was like, wow, I had been practicing yoga this entire time in a very like martial way. And so going back to the temple, yeah, I was there couple months at a time throughout the year, 6 to 7 months at a time. I'd be out in China. I'd come back, continue my yoga training, go to school, go to college just to keep my college education.
So you're doing
going.
yoga training here?
I was doing yoga training in Florida, and then I'd go back and I'd practice my monkhood. So I had the shaved head.
Monkhood.
And I wore the, yep.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
What does monkhood mean? Like, what do you practice over there?
So we
More
practice
about meditation?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's all about most Buddhist monks. They have to shave their head. They wear the
red
clothes.
cloth.
The different Buddhist styles will do like gray or orange or yellow. It just depends on which Buddhist sect you're speaking of. But for the most part, it's all about achieving and journeying yourself towards a state of nirvana, or in yoga we use the word samadhi, or enlightenment. And so we can practice that by stillness of the mind, stillness of the body. And so you take, for example, your classic monks that you think of are the ones that sit in a posture like a full lotus posture, get into deep meditative states, meditate all day long, practice humming sutras, chanting sutras, and then for their community they do like alms. They collect alms from people. That's how they get their food to eat, and also they do some donation work. They work on their yard for like gardening purposes, for their physical exercise, if you will, their asana practice.
And also to be more humble and
Exactly.
stay grounded, because that's how, when you do activities like normal cleaning, that's how basically that teaches you being humble. Right?
Exactly.
That's one of the things, yeah.
And it deepens your relationship with nature, which in turn deepens yourself.
So that's what you
within
did for 7 months over there.
So Shaolin Buddhism was actually more intense. Shaolin is one of the few, I don't know if there's any other Buddhist monk practices that allow you to practice being a monk while also practicing martial arts. So we did martial arts training every day. Think military. Like we'd wake up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. We'd go run up and down the mountains. We'd go practice our Shaolin Wushu forms. We would practice Tai Chi, which is a form of like moving meditation, which comes from Qigong, which is an internal medicine system of healing. There's acupuncture involved, Moxa Bushtian, breath work through Qigong, different movements. In the Shaolin Temple, we practice a very similar to yoga form called Baduanjin, which means 8-section brocade. And it's 8 movements that are done with 8 breaths. Very intentional, just like an asana practice. And all of these things you do together, in addition to your meditations, your chanting, your basically your affirmations of the day. And we would go to the local village to bring water, bring milk. We would return with like maybe some food to then give to the monks. Alms is what it's called. And so that was kind of the life you're living there. And you'd go to sleep between 7 and 8 every night.
And you read books also. That's how it came to know all, because these are new terms for me.
Yeah. So they had basically religious study practices. So our religious study practices was part of an in-depth structure of what we had to learn as Buddhists. So I'm not too familiar with like Theravada Buddhism or Vajrayana Buddhism. This comes from the Mahayana Buddhist precepts. And so they believe that Amitabha, I'm not sure the Indian translation, Namo Amitabha or Namo Amitofu in Chinese is what we would say. In fact, we would chant
What does
this.
it mean?
Namo is like from Nama, like a greetings.
Yeah, greetings. Namaste.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Amitofu is the name of the Buddha, Pho. Again, I don't know in Sanskrit exactly the translation. Taba maybe. That has to do with a particular Buddha that found a way to reach enlightenment simply by the practice of presence through human perfection, if you will. By letting go of that perfection, by achieving that perfection, this particular Buddha, was able to reach enlightenment. And in order to reach enlightenment through the people that practice under him, he's made it easy. All you have to do is chant Namo Amitofu 108 times. So a lot of people have to read a lot of like Sanskrit, like...
It's same thing like in Sanskrit or in Hindi, we do like Om, chanting 108 times.
Exactly.
I think in other cultures, there's a significance of 108. that some people like, it doesn't matter it's Om or whatever you're doing. It's like that I know the reason why Om we do it, because I saw one of the videos of Sadhguru, which is the spiritual guru in India.
Yes.
He said that's the sound a u ma that vibrates if you go to the universe. That's the
Exactly.
basic sounds. Maybe that's what Chinese also do, but yeah.
I completely agree. So I also have a background in linguistics, and I learned when I was both taking my second training for a yoga teacher training, which I did skipping ahead 2022 in Denver, Colorado, with Black Swan Yoga. I learned that the vibrations and all of the things that Sanskrit itself, the Sanskrit language, was written almost perfectly aligned with a linguistic understanding of phonetics, how words are pronounced. And so, like, as you pronounce a word, like from the Muladhara all the way up with the chakra system or with your alms, it starts from the front and works all the way up into the nasal cavity, down into the throat, into the back of the throat. And it makes this like perfect like wave. And that makes so much sense because the way we use language and how we talk to ourselves and all of those somatic expressions of connecting our mind to our body all relate, not even to the universe, but also to ourselves and each other. And so that combination of like yoga meaning union, to yoke, to be together, is that harmony. So when we use alms, when we chant, we are literally vibrating within us the energy of the universe through our nervous system, our digestive system, our respiratory system, and then connecting that to the muscles that then create the action. And we know that in the brain we have electrical impulses. And so every time we make a sound or a movement, like that's electricity going through our body. We call this electromagnetics.
Right.
And so this idea, now we can transfer it and connect other people in that way.
Right.
You know, like when two people shake hands and maybe there's a little bit of shock or maybe a little bit of warmth, like that's all from friction, from a scientific way. We know that's heat being generated.
Right.
But where does the origin of that come from?
Right.
I personally believe like the soul's energy from the heart and the mind together in unison. And that intention creates those results, right?
Correct. So you did the yoga training and from Florida, from Bikram Yoga.
Yes.
Was it 200 hours or how was it?
So it was interesting. Bikram Yoga, we didn't have like a 200 to 5 hour training program when I was in it. I think they brought that in later. But we did at least 1,000 hours.
1,000 hours, okay.
I mean, the amount of time that I logged, because you're practicing all the Bikram Yoga poses for both a 90-minute class and a 3-hour class. So they had different levels of teaching. Also, back then I was trained in 104-degree heat. Now they do like 101.4 or 0.8, right? 108 almost. My idea with that is that like, that to get to that level of 104, we had to be practicing in that heat. Not immediately, but we started like...
Start slowly.
Right.
To build up that. But why there's a need to practice in heat? Like in India, we usually practice yoga in open air.
Yes.
This is a concept I came to know from in US. You know,
Yes.
there's a beer yoga. There's like hot yoga. There's like dog yoga.
Cat
aqua
yoga. I know. My friend just is doing my Japanese friend is doing
Acro yoga.
Cat yoga.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's interesting. It's a juxtaposition.
Yeah.
I think on the one side, it's that creative energy where some people will take the terms culturally appreciate and culturally appropriate. Culturally appropriate. Oh, yoga belongs to me. No, that's culturally appropriating. No, yoga doesn't belong to anybody. It's a system of practice that was created in India. At first, we should at least honor that. And then we should honor the roots of our practice, right? That's how we culturally appreciate. So bringing it back to like Bikram. Bikram took everything that he learned from yoga because he was like a master yogi in India. You know, and he won all these competitions and he was perfect with his asana practice. And I think he just wanted to up the challenge. I mean, we never asked him like, why are we doing this in heat? But from my practice, I realized that there was benefits to doing it in that hot weather. And that's really to focus on that sthira sukha intensity. That's the focus on even deeper breathwork, pranayama. That's the focus on even deeper pratyahara and that concentration. And dharana dhyana, you know, meditative focus and getting into that concentration, it's more challenging in the heat. And also, yes, on a physical level, it did loosen us up.
So if you want to do more challenge, then you do practice in heat. If you want less challenge, then open air. That's what you do, right?
This is a really good question. So speaking of wellness, like, do what you feel like your body needs. And a lot of people are like, well, what does my body need?
Listen to your body.
Yeah, so I'd say listen to your body. I just met a wonderful yoga student who I flowed with yesterday at Crave Yoga in Mountain View, California. And she shared with me that she does not like doing yoga in the heat. And I share her sympathy now, because it takes you out of what you can create from within. And I love that expression. Like, you can create that heat from within. If you feel so cold already all the time, maybe hot yoga is for you. So I would say the answer to that is explore. Yeah, 100%.
Because some students come to my yoga and chai, and basically there they tell me like hot yoga doesn't work for them because the doctor has told me it causes like some problems with the back or with the heat and stuff like that. So it depends upon person to person.
Exactly.
So that is, I've tried core power yoga. Bikram yoga, I don't know whether it exists or not after the thing that happened. The core power yoga is like it's like a workout for me. You go and you straightly tell you come in down dog, come in up dog, come in this, come in that. I think yoga should be mix of everything. As you mentioned, Pratihara, Dharana, Dhyan. It's like Ashtanga yoga, eight steps, 8 limbs of yoga. It should mix of everything. It should be pranayama, which is breathing practices. It should be asana. It should be meditation. Everything combined. I feel like US form of yoga just teaches you asana. Yoga is a complete package, which you should know everything. That's what I feel like. Okay, coming back to that thing. So you did that teacher training, and then you did that Buddhism training that taught you martial arts.
Yeah, so in the Shaolin Temple taught me different forms of martial arts style. So think like in karate, you have different kata, you have different forms. So right block down, left punch, right? So we've got hundreds of different, there's like actual, what do you call them, like scripts that you can unfold, and it shows you in China the martial arts form. And this is connected to some Chinese medicine based on Bodhidharma's teachings. So it all comes back to that. But all of these forms represent like animals, elements. They represent like the internal system of your body.
The martial arts.
The martial arts, the Shaolin martial arts themselves. Like, I can't speak for Taekwondo or like Shotokan Karate, which is my background.
And there's a Jiu-Jitsu also, right? Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that's a different thing.
Yeah, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is that grappling, ground fighting. It's mostly used today for like self-defense, or people utilize it as a caveat to like MMA training.
What is one common thing across the board, like for Jiu-Jitsu, for martial arts, for Taekwondo? What is one common thing which you see?
The common trend around martial arts in general is the idea that you're being taught how to master your body through the responses of somebody else, right? So a shifu or a sensei yelling at you, telling you to get into this posture, telling you to like hit harder, hit stronger. It's not as invitational as a yoga class necessarily would be, but it teaches you that mental discipline. It's definitely a heavy, if you want to bring it to yoga terms, asana practice. It's posture. A lot of martial arts postures translate from into yoga postures. So I'd say the one thing that correlates across the Japanese karate, the Chinese wushu, the Korean taekwondo, is that element of physical mastery. And not just that, but also, especially with Shaolin wushu, we're taught to master the body so well that not to be the best fighter. This is the illusion, is that you can take these classic traditional martial arts and become an amazing MMA fighter.
Warrior.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Not in today's world.
Yeah.
It's to teach you how to master your body. And if you take it a step further, you can take on, you can take on the world, right? Like physically, mentally. So on
same as yoga.
Exactly, right.
So I think there's a common thing is like it does your mind body soul connection.
Yes.
Which yoga does.
Yeah, I
so
agree.
That's what gym also does. Whenever we do gym, the trainers always tell us do a mind muscle connection.
Yes.
Right? You should know which muscle you're working on. In yoga, you should know which basically your mind and your body connection you are working on.
100%.
Same with martial arts also. I think taking like 5,000 years back when yoga was discovered, or maybe like way before that, even martial arts, right? They all came from the same root, like Asian culture. Maybe they were one thing, and then like people who were teaching, they divided that into multiple formats. Like let's do martial art, let's do kung fu, let's do yoga, let's do asana, let's do this. But I think they all reaches that ultimate say, which is spirituality, which is samadhi or liberation, people call it.
Exactly.
That's what I think. But glad to know about that. Let's talk about a little bit about how to deal with, like, have you faced depression and stress in your life?
Yeah, so getting really deep into this, and I have no problem exposing to the world. So I was in the military. I was supposed to serve for 6 years, but I had to get out a little bit before my 4th year hit because I got injured. I was in the Air Force from 2012 to 2016. And in addition to some childhood traumas we go through, quite deep ones in fact, I dealt with a deployment that really hit my heart. And it dealt with rescuing kids from being sex trafficked and a gunfight. And we don't have to get into the nitty-gritty
When you
details
were
of
in
that.
Air Force, you mean you were a pilot or you were on the ground?
Yeah, it's so funny. People think Air Force you're a pilot. Yeah, we were ground.
Grounded.
My particular job was military police. It's called security forces. So my job was both to secure an environment. So in this case, my base was C-130 base or transport airplanes, or to be in the role of a police, which is.
So you
to
have served
enforce laws.
military.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
nice.
we learned how to be infantry, but we could also. My particular role in the military, in the Air Force, was military police. So I would enforce the rules while also securing buildings, making sure housing was safe, making sure the C-130 planes were safe, that type of stuff. Yeah.
Got it. So you dealt with. So I get it. Like you were in the process of saving kids and from trafficking and stuff like that. So were you having stress and depression during that time?
Yeah, I mean, when you see what happened in the military, when you see what I've been through, if you experience any kind of like worry about trafficking or you see on the news, I mean, that just watching on the news breaks
You
your
become
heart.
sad.
Yeah, it causes a lot of like sadness and grief, but I experienced it in real time, and we had the power and the capability and ability to protect these children, and we did, but not at the with the expense of also losing children as well. So we lost a lot of kids, and it just weighed on me. And at that time, I was married to my first wife, and her and I had a 1-year-old daughter. So my daughter now is 10, and like just looking at her, like it was very hard to just even look at her and be like, not see what I saw. Right, I saw her as this beautiful, lovely creature that I created and brought into this world, this beautiful soul. But like seeing her brought so much sadness and happy. It was definitely both emotions. It was sadness because it's like I don't want this ever. The fact that these things happen in this world just breaks my heart. You know, and the amount of power we have but don't actually embody, it's really, really, really disheartening, right? Like, I can protect my daughter as much as possible, but at the end of the day, what we need to do is create communities and environments where we can create that safety from the bottom up, right? But that takes time. And also teaching my daughter to be a good person, right? To be good, but also aware. Situation awareness is very important, which goes to martial arts. I'd say that's another common theme of martial arts is that situation awareness. But it's just like, yeah, depression set in, and I developed PTSD from that event, so I'm rated with the VA.
What is PTSD?
Post-traumatic stress disorder. Yeah, so it's like a combination of stress, anxiety, and depression all at once. And kind of the root of it is you will experience that traumatic event over and over again, or multiple times, or occasionally, or whatever time frame that occurs over the course of time for the rest of your life, or for a couple months or a couple days, couple weeks, and relive that experience in your mind as if you were still there.
Got it. And how you deal with that, basically, how you mitigated that?
It's hard because the different, first of all, a disclaimer, like different levels and layers of PTSD are prevalent for all people. You could get into a car accident and it not affect you at all, ever. You can get in a car accident, that same car accident, and maybe 10 years from now, you get triggered by some other events. You can be in a car accident and immediately be out of work for a week, 2 weeks, right? Not even speaking of the physical injuries, just on your heart. And so with mine, it was a combination of all three. A lot of stuff hit me at once. A lot of stuff was brought back up from the past. And a lot of things still happen today that I see. And so how do I deal with that, right? How do you deal with that? Wow. I love the practice of presence.
Being in the present moment.
Present moment. I have no control over anything that's outside of the reach of my hands at all. Period. And that is scary as fuck, if you will. But it's also very humbling.
Right.
And powerful. Okay, so I do have control to lift this cup and to have a sip.
Right.
I do have control to shift my hips over and to give you a high five if I want to. It's also in your control to give me a high five in response. And then your high five in response was a show of wanting to connect.
Right.
And now I can use that connection within the world to still be present, but to realize there's other people out there who are experiencing similar things. Maybe they didn't go through the same thing. Let's take a train, for example. Or better yet, I'm going to use so I went to therapy for many years, and one of the most powerful things my therapist told me was think of your life as a river. You're always it's inevitable you're going to come across stones as the water, and you're going to split over.
Yeah.
And sometimes your river fills and you go over that stone. Now think of these stones as stress, as all of the problems in your life. And let's even work on reframing the word problem and turning it into an obstacle, right? And you overcome this obstacle. But sometimes they're mountains. Well, what about the crevice that you come upon and your water hits the crevice? Well, the water is still going, she taught me. She said the water will still continue to move. Even if it pulls up in a lake, it's still moving from somewhere. In the pool, in the lake, it's still in its deepest bowels of its movement, within the deepest part of its science, the hydrogen dioxide components, is still movement is going. Same within us. And that movement is still within the reach of its control. The ocean right now is not reaching us today.
Right.
But it has enough body water to, in a very bad way, to reach us if it wanted to.
It would want it to, yeah.
Right. However, in our present moment, not worrying about stress, how I specifically deal with life is to think of it like that. I keep myself present. I remember life will always move. It'll ebb and flow. And I remember both the practices of what I've learned through martial arts and through yoga. In addition to my life experiences, it really helps to hit so many walls. But I'll tell you, and for the audience listening, the most important message, if you take anything away, it's to remember every single wall is not a wall that's always meant to be climbed. And if we spend so much time trying to overcome an obstacle, it might not actually be aligned with us in this lifetime to overcome that wall.
That's something important which you talked about, right? So first of all, living in present moment. Second is not overthinking.
Exactly.
If you think that, okay, you want to achieve a goal, if you can't do that in this lifetime, whatever, don't overthink about it. If it naturally comes up, it's fine. But do not think more, do not stress about it.
Yes.
That's what you mean, right?
Right.
That's most of the people do here.
Yeah.
They overstress. In overstress, they basically, maybe some people overeat, some people gain weight, some people goes under therapy sessions and stuff like that. So that's what happens. But those are few things which you practice, right? Living in the present moment.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. And I'd say, now people, especially the listeners, might be thinking well, okay, that's great. I can just stay still and let life happen around me, but why do I still feel like crap, right? Yeah. And how I deal with those moments is, well, you can't win every battle, first of all, no matter what you do, right? So some days it's okay to, first of all, feel your emotions. It's okay to not feel okay, number one. Explore that, though. Instead of just being still, present, don't mix up presence with ignorance, right? Don't just stay there and be like, I'm going to eat chips today because I don't feel good. No, maybe explore getting outside and getting some sun. Maybe talk to a friend about your problems. Maybe try something completely new. Go outside of your comfort zone.
That's something which I've realized, the difference between US culture and our culture, Indian culture, is we are surrounded by family. We are more family oriented. Everywhere we have family talking to us, we live together. And there's nothing called depression in India. Right. So if we have a depression, we just talk to it. We talk about it to our family. Oh, this is something happening in our work. This is something which is happening in our personal life, right? So our parents, our friends are therapy for us, right? But here we are alone. We are so alone. Everyone is married, they have kids and stuff. We are isolated in our own circle. That's why I think one of the good things about yoga and chai is we are building this community where we are connecting people, and a lot of people come there to talk about things which they cannot talk to anyone else. So that's something I think the most important thing is talking about what is troubling you, right?
Yeah.
For example, if I'm stuck in my life, I always talk to my brother or my friends, and then they give me solution, and then I was like, okay, you are validating what I'm thinking. So that's how I deal with stress, right? Maybe there's something people do not like to share. They do not want to go out.
Exactly.
That's something they would like to. They should change in their life.
Yes.
That's what I think. Right?
Really well said. And I think there's a beauty in the lessons that we learn from India too. Like, how do we create more community here in America? You know, people from India or China or Vietnam, or even people living here in America who aren't from Asian countries, who like from Mexico. It doesn't matter where you're from.
Yeah.
Creating a life here in America is a very challenging
Very
thing.
challenging task. Yeah.
Very challenging.
America gives you opportunities. There's a lot of like opportunities and money to be made. That's why they all come here. But they all are isolated, away from their family, away from their ground. That's the challenge here.
Well, what I've observed for all people, regardless of their immigrants who are wanting to find really good work and contribute to the United States, I've also met people in my life who will immigrate here with the full intention of making good money to send back to their family. So their intention isn't necessarily to build that community. But our discussion is more about, well, what are the people that really love being a part of American culture? And I would say that as an American who was born here, I would call myself more of a worldly person. I love the entire world. I love a little bit of everything of every country. And there's always things to learn. Like, even if we don't necessarily appreciate everything about something, we can still find things to appreciate about it to help grow. Like what you said about India and how you guys don't have depression. So bringing that back here, exactly. In yoga, we talk about the Vishuddha chakra. Expressing yourself is the hardest thing.
Which chakra did you say?
The Vishuddha chakra.
The heart chakra.
The throat chakra.
The throat chakra.
Yes.
You are expressing yourself.
This is like I found in both my yoga classes teaching and for other yoga teachers as well. But just the world in America, the hardest thing to do, I found, is expressing yourself.
So every chakra, there's 7 chakras, right?
Yes.
Every chakra has an importance. You should know where your chakra is based upon the gaps in your body or your mental state.
Yes.
Right? So most of the people who are extroverted, I think their chakras are mostly over the heart or at the neck. But if you are not able to express yourself because of language, I think you are stuck here.
Yeah,
the chakra
that's
has
for
not
sure.
risen here, from here.
Yeah.
Right? That's one way to think about
Exactly.
it. Right? If you're more introverted, then maybe your chakras are a little downward.
Right, yeah. So taking that like anahata, literally meaning unstuckness. So like I've met a lot of people who they can speak a lot, but they don't exactly know the awareness of what's going on because they're still stuck in, you know, their present moment with the problems that's going on. I meet a lot of business people, especially in tech, and I say like, "How are you doing today?" And they're like, "I'm fine." But then I ask, like, how are you really doing? And then they might go off on saying, like, well, I'm making really good money. I work my 9 to 5, but I've got all these other side projects. I'm making really good money. And it's always coming back to, like, money or work. And I'm like, but how are you? Like, you're talking about these external things.
They don't talk about that.
Yeah. They don't talk about, like, oh, I'm feeling well. My body feels healthy.
They consider goodness with money.
Right. Exactly.
They do not consider goodness with mental or physical.
Exactly.
That's what I feel like over here, not just in the Bay Area, but everywhere in the US and the world. They just are concentrated towards getting more money, becoming more financially independent. There's no end to it. Even if you reach 50, 60, there's no end to the money thingy, right? And then they are doing that on the pretext of their health or some other mental or family thing, right? I think everything should be balanced together.
I agree.
That's what I feel like. Like, I recently got laid off. I don't have a job right now.
Sure.
2 months back, I was laid off from my tech company. I'm looking for a job. So these 2-3 months has given me time to think about what actually I really want in life. Maybe I want to grow the yoga and chai. Maybe some other business. Maybe food thing or something. That is actually, and US has a lot of good benefits, like unemployment benefit, which I recently got green card, so I didn't know that, which is good actually. Which people on visa, they don't have that, which is really good. But yeah, overall the summary is you should be thinking about holistic thing, which people don't think about.
Yeah.
They are becoming like mentally unstable or physically unstable. They don't go for workout. At least I think 1 hour of the day you spend to yours, at least 1 hour, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really good point. That when you speak about wellness isn't just financial savviness, Like most people that make a lot of money, they're not even financially literate. They don't know how to save money. They don't know how to take the money that they have to pay off the bills so that they can lessen the amount of work so they can put more back into their lives.
They just keep on working.
They just keep on working, right? They make the money. They don't know what to do with the money. And so that's just one side of it. And then you're bringing also the physical stuff. If you take, I guarantee you take 90% of these tech people, or people, just in general, people working here in the Bay, especially, and you put them in, I just had a massage today, and you bring them to a massage therapist. They're going to say, ouch, ouch. You know, there's going to be a lot of pain. I guarantee that massage therapist is going to find some physical pain in the pain.
Yeah, because they are used to sitting at one position, and this is what's happened. Like when I see even like in yoga and chai, a lot of people have stiff body, you know, because of like just sitting at one position and not moving, not being flexible. That's one of the things, and that's why I started this, because even I'm not flexible. I'm not saying I'm flexible. I started this to be more motivated, so that I want to be a teacher, so that if people look at me, I want to do that pose better.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly.
Even I can't do like like handstands. I started doing headstand recently. There's a lot of difficult poses which I've seen you doing, like crow pose or like peacock pose or something like that. It takes years and years of practice, and it's all about mind-body connection.
Yeah, exactly.
The more difficult poses you go, because you can't stabilize your body until your mind is focused on one point or something. And I recently tried one yoga. It's called blindfolded yoga. You put this thing on your eyes and then you hold the asana. It's much more challenging, and it also requires mind-body connection. Your mind should be very stable. If it's like going here and there, somewhere in Hawaii on the beach, it doesn't work like that. It should be at this moment.
That's another really good point. Like, speaking of asanas, let's dig up those worms a little bit. In America, people, and going back to like the asana heavy focus, like a core power, like I would rather challenge somebody to do a blindfolded warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2, rather than trying to practice doing their handstands. If you can hold a very simple pose, if you can stand up and close your eyes, just stand up, just take a Tadasana pose, and now close down your eyes, just in that standing pose. Yeah, that's a challenge in of itself. Then if you can master that, you know, keep it going. I think on the flip side, a lot of people, the Instagram world, you see all these postures. Like you mentioned, I do the crow pose. So like that took me years to get into, but now that my body's kind of at a level where I can learn postures, I can get into postures a little bit easier than I could many years ago. But I'm still focused when I'm doing it on that mind-body connection. What does this feel like? And this is also important, if it doesn't feel good, then I don't do it, right? If I wanted to practice Hanumanasana, that full splits pose, if my hips are just like not feeling it today, I'm gonna go back to the basics and get into Ardha Hanumanasana, the half splits, or maybe just get some like nice little hip movements in to whatever, just to open up my hips, my pelvic floor a little bit more, and then maybe strengthen my glutes. Because you know, from an anatomical perspective, if you do want to achieve these postures, you do need to practice the body training. So you can do that through martial arts and yoga all day, but sometimes you might find that you need to complement your practice through, you know, a little weight training here or there, or some extra little things to diversify.
There's your balance. That's what I realized. Like yoga is good, but you should also add on to a weight training. Yeah. Because weight training will give you build your muscles. Yes. Because maybe in yoga, when you are holding on to handstands, you need muscles, right? You can't do that if you don't have muscle. You don't have shoulder strength.
Yes, right.
So everything is required. And that's what yogis used to do. They used to do like push-ups, which is Indian traditional way of push-up, which is combination of 3 asana, which is down dog, then chaturanga, and then up dog, back to back. And here in US, or not in US, in gym, they just teach us like constant like
chaturanga push-ups.
Yeah, just chaturanga, which is fine, which is just for chest, but the old way is for every whole body, which is better way of doing it. So that's what yogis used to, like hundreds of them, 200 of them at stretch, which gives you upper body strength, and that's how you do the headstand, whatever thing.
But today, instead of like going through like all of those 3 postures, if you wanted to diversify, you know, you can go to the gym, do some shoulder press, just simple shoulder press, complement with a little bench press. And what's great is with weights, you don't have to go heavy. And a big misconception is people are worried if you use weights, you're going to get big, right? It's not necessarily how it works. Like the more weight you push, less reps on a long period of time, you're going to build that muscle mass. But if you're just lifting weights like once or twice a week to complement those muscles, to complement the muscle tissues, muscle fibers that you're utilizing for your yoga postures, you're not necessarily going to get bigger. You might get a little bit over the course of a couple months or years, but only noticeable so that it's more like a toning, right? It's more like you cut those, and your muscles will define themselves to regulate your skeletal system and to balance you out for that posture.
Right.
But you still have to come back to that wellness, right? So holding that crow pose, if I'm in crow pose and I'm stressed out because I just got back from an 8-hour work shift, I got into a fight with my wife, my best friend's out of town, he's my person to talk to usually, what do? You know, can I practice yoga for wellness? Like, how can I get into like a Surya Namaskar, sun salutation, and use that as mindfulness to work through my emotions? And I would say that yes, you can. So one method that I like to do is if I'm having a really hard time, and let's just be honest, like when me and my wife get into arguments and fights, what I like to do is number one, introspection, balance myself out, be present here in the moment. What's actually going on inside of me? We are a reflection of each other. So if I'm upset at her because of some kind of miscommunication or misunderstanding, that's still coming from me. My interpretation and my response to it is what I can control. So taking that into consideration is really important. Practicing yoga will teach you to do that. Going back to just the Tadasana, standing there in your mountain pose and just feeling your feet on the ground, feeling your knees, how do they feel? Feeling your glutes, feeling your arms, feeling your shoulders, physically. And now in space and time, you're in this, for example, studio with a bunch of other people doing the same thing. So you can visualize all of these other people doing it, and then you can bring your self-awareness to your breath. Breathe in, breathe out. That's your meditative practice. Now take all of that and just push it aside, like move it into a space of darkness, if you will. And as you inhale, maybe think of a light. Maybe you're doing like Muladhara, you're doing your red, so you're focusing more on root chakra, grounding. Maybe just you want to do classic like white, because when you close down your eyes, you see that little electricity. So you can focus on that, expanding and getting lower. And just doing something like that in your yoga practice and then bringing
will
it
help
to
you
the
in
real
personal
world.
life.
It will help you in real life too.
Because then you will be more, like for example, if the example you gave me, you have issues with going on with your wife, you can talk about it, you feel more confident.
Exactly.
You can bring that energy to talk about things with your manager if you're having issues with the work life or your personal life, whatever be the case.
Exactly.
You'll be more confident. That's what you mean.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. Sometimes we can't overcome all of those obstacles. Like you were laid off, so there's like nothing you could have done. There's no yoga pose that's going to.
But I was not stressed, which was good because of yoga.
Yes.
That taught me to be humble, be nice, don't be stressed, because some things are not in your control, and you will be able to find a job or whatever you're looking for next. Because this was my second day off.
Yeah.
And another thing which got me confidence, which I will not lie, is green card. If you're on visa, you are at timing which goes on. You have to be in the US for 2 months. That's it, and you have to go back whichever country you're from. With green card, you are a resident.
Exactly.
So that was the thing. But yeah, yoga does wonders, which I feel. But you know what? Yoga has to be done every day or maybe 2 or 3 times a week. People who just say they do yoga once a week, things never happens to them, right? And then they say nothing is working for worker. Then they go for therapy and stuff like that, right? So they have to be patient,
exactly,
consistent, that kind of stuff, right? That's what I feel like, because people tell me, oh, nothing is happening in their life. They are doing meditation, they are doing yoga, but when they do, like once in a week, and then they expect like changes happens to them. But I don't think that's how it works.
And that's not enough. Exactly. Like if you go to therapy once a week, if you go to yoga once a week, once a week is not habit building, right? You should be doing something if you really want to truly integrate habit building. 15 minutes a day of everything you want to do. So like my practice, like I'll practice 15 minutes a day of my Japanese lessons, my Chinese practice for my languages. I'll do 15 minutes minimum of my martial arts practice. Even if I don't go to a yoga class or teach a yoga class, like today is my day off from yoga teaching, I'll still do at least 15 minutes. Like actually today I did 60 minutes of yoga on my own, just practicing different postures, practicing meditation, pranayama. You still do that practice. So every day I have this habit, and we have plenty of time. Even if you work 12 hours a day, let's say you work a 12-hour shift, and that's not including the hour it takes to get to and from work. So that's 14 hours in a day. Then you still have 10 hours in a day which, sure, if you want 8 hours of sleep, that's still 2 hours.
2 hours, which you can invest in
Right.
your body.
Right. You can invest in your body. You can do this. You can take 20. You can take some time on your break at work to figure out what you want your meal plan to be, and then you go home and you just spend like an hour maybe meal planning for 2 days, and then those 3 days you have all your meals set up, and you'll spend 30 minutes of that time doing your meal. You're doing some movement. You're doing that conscious awareness of holding yourself to that standard of goals. Now, again, this is like if you're working a 14-hour shift and you're like really, really stressed. A lot of people don't have that, so you have actually a lot more time. It takes that mental discipline. But if you really want to be better, you're going to act and you're going to react and respond in that way. And so, yeah, that extra time, you see how we still have an hour and a half before your eight hours that you need for bed.
Right.
Go ahead, take that 30-minute bath. Give it to yourself. But before you do, see if you can get 15 minutes of exactly a workout. Even if you're not the type of person to go onto YouTube to do exercise, go for a walk at the very least. Like, go for a walk outside. Enjoy the fresh air, especially as
do something. Do physical activity. That's what. Not stay in that exactly thing.
Yeah.
So, what does your regular day looks like? As in, your full-time job is yoga teacher.
Yes.
You also teach martial arts.
Yes.
Right. You teach yoga in your own studio, or you have your like you partner with someone else?
Yeah, so I partner right now. I'm working for 24 Hour Fitness, and I also work basically hosting meetups. So just like yourself, I do privates both at my home, and I do private like small groups. We usually go to the park, and these individuals are a small group of people that are basically friends. They already know what they want. I've got one group that's really heavy on just practicing more the pranayama and the meditation part. So we'll do like maybe 10 to 15 minutes of just, we'll loosen up our body, and we'll incorporate things like qigong movements or yoga asana postures to just get the wiggles out, and then we'll practice meditation and breath work. And then I've got private clients I take as well. I also do massage therapy, I do Reiki, I do other fun things like that.
Massage therapy, like doing regular massages, or it's a different kind of massage?
So I can't really legally call myself a massage therapist anymore, but I was trained as a massage therapist before in Florida. My license has since been expired, and I just, I'll be honest.
Massage therapists, like massage people, also requires a license.
Exactly, yeah. Yes, exactly. So what I do is I call it muscle manipulation and just muscular skeletal work. So that's an agreement that you understand that I'm not a massage therapist, but I'm going to work on your body with your muscle tissues with my extensive knowledge in anatomy, physiology, from my yoga background, from my massage background. I also worked at a place called Stretch Lab that focused on stretching.
Stretch Lab, yeah, I've seen that. It's pretty good. They do not focus on massages, but they focus on stretching your body, which is
it's phenomenal there. And the training that I had there was very integrative. It was a 50-hour training program. So I get trained as a professional flexologist is what they're called.
Yeah.
But I incorporate all that, and I bring it not just to the physical level, but in my massage, I also offer Reiki.
Reiki is sound meditation, right?
Reiki is actually a Japanese practice of energy work, so healing work. Think of Reiki, first of all, breaking down the name. Rei meaning universal and Ki meaning energy, universal energy. We all have Reiki within us. Think of it as being like your prana, your energy, internal energy. And so Reiki, how I was taught by Lisa Chavon in Colorado was that you will, as a Reiki practitioner, you are working with the Reiki within somebody's body. And like a puzzle, everybody's body may feel out of whack, their mind, their heart, their energetic systems will feel out of whack. Their puzzles are not together, right? And so what I do as a Reiki practitioner and a Reiki master is I hold space for that healing to happen on an energetic level. And that energetic level, going back to electromagnetics, helping the body feel still, it's a form of touch therapy, right? So on one level, this person here, even if they don't feel the voodoo Reiki magical symptoms that are happening, that touch therapy alone is sending messages to their brain, to their heart. The system of the fight or flight response is now moving into a system of calm and relaxation. And that calm and relaxation by itself, just by having your hands on somebody or away and producing that heat between somebody, is causing tremendous benefits for somebody. So even if you don't believe in the energetic aspect, like the magical aspect of Reiki and what it is, or even Qigong, there is a level of science that is still present in that. So that's what I do. So
Reiki is basically touching body and transferring the energy. Like, can you explain in simple terms?
Absolutely. So I'm not using any of my energy when I'm doing Reiki. So with Qigong, if I'm doing Qigong healing, I'm using my own energy to heal you. If I'm doing Reiki, I'm using your energy, and like a puzzle, I'm taking my energy to help put your energy back together in like a puzzle.
So how does
in a
it
better
work?
way.
Like, is it like yoga where you sit and do poses, or how does it work? Explain.
Great question. So you can be at any pose. Like I could be doing Reiki while you're
While sitting here.
While you're sitting here.
Ah.
I could be traditionally you're laying down. So just like a massage table, you lay down on a table, face up, face down, because you work with the different muscles too in Reiki too. And Reiki also deals with a very ancient systematic practice of utilizing different chants that bring in an incantation similar to yoga does, like with sutras. And these chants are meant to bring out like energetic forces within the body to help awaken symptoms, both for the intention of it, but also through the actualization of it. So if I'm telling you, I would like you to start feeling into my hands now. Your brain is going to start saying, okay, I can really feel his hands. Now focus on that feeling. Focus on the sensation between my hand and your body and allow yourself to experience what you feel. Because then I can get into and I can feel into what's actually going on inside on this part of the body. Are you holding emotional stress here, physical tension? What's going on? And then sometimes like Lisa, she's got the ability and she combines it with another practice called Acunect, and I'm not too familiar with it, but it basically taps into like a deeper sense of healing. Like I can sense some like past traumas that have happened in your life that have translated here. Would you like to talk about it? And you don't have to, but if you want to talk about it, then we can work on bringing it up to the surface. And so there is a actual principle of thought, a scientific practice called somatics, which is mind-body connection. And Reiki is one of these practices that really can help actualize and help to target that person's body and mind and heart connection in a healing way. And so that's what Reiki is. So in layman terms, it's energetic healing, hands on, hands off.
Which one is the sound healing then? Like sound meditation?
So sound meditation is using hertz frequencies. So like you'll see people using like the
cup.
Yeah, the cups or the bowls, and these generate different hertz frequencies. We also know this is different than Reiki, but we know that different hertz frequencies resonate with the different emotions of our body. So like at 528 you're at stability, you're actually for healing, you're ascending.
I see. So in the yogis or whoever's invented that, they know which frequency is for what kind of healing.
Exactly, right.
So and different bowls and different sounds resonate different frequencies.
Exactly. Yep.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Which so we talked about a lot. We talked about yoga, we talked about martial arts, we talked about Reiki and sound meditation and other things. Which one is the best?
Well, I can only answer that. I can only answer that for myself. In this chapter of my life, I would say yoga, overall yoga, and that means both the asana practice, the pranayama practice, and the Ashtanga traditional 8-limb practice in general, just all of it. Both practicing, studying the sutras, understanding the yamas and niyamas. So, some people they need to work on that therapy within themselves. They need to feel comfortable just being a person. And sometimes that takes going to a massage therapist and seeing what it feels like to just be touched, right? To be touched, to have that muscle like, wow, I've held tension in my shoulders and my hips for 5 years, and it hasn't, like the last time I even had a hug was from my great-grandmother 3 weeks ago. Like to have this like intimate touch that's non-sexual, that's like very healing. That's something that I'd say like good majority of Americans especially need, especially like you mentioned with postures.
Hug is really important.
And
nobody
hugs,
does that.
yeah, right.
They just shake hands.
Yes.
But in India, we have a culture of like touching the feet of our elders and also hugging them.
Yes, yes.
Hugging gives you a lot of like energy transfer and heals you also. I read a study, 60 seconds of hug a day takes you a lot of like higher levels.
I'm going to practice that more with my wife. My wife and I love to hug, so I'd say that hugging is definitely a big thing. The physical connection is absolutely important. You know, it's that creative space. You know, speaking of another chakra, Svadhisthana, that creative space that draws into sexual energy. But I like to explain that sexual energy isn't necessarily intercourse. It's creation, right? It's me plus this equals something that I want to create.
It's like a union.
Exactly.
Like in yoga, we say it's like Sati and also Shiva.
Yes.
Shiva who created yoga, and Sati is the dynamic energy, and Shiva is the Shun, like the stable energy.
Exactly.
Combination of that is the energy force which is created in yoga.
Exactly.
Which is really beneficial. But I think you mentioned a good point that yoga is not the best, but this is what you are focusing on right now, which is the healing force. compared to all of the things.
Yeah.
I think that's what ancient saints and all used to practice.
Mm.
But yoga also go deep down into not just physical, but also like inwards, like meditation and stuff. And it's very hard to do meditation, to be honest. I will tell from my experience. When you close your eyes, your mind wanders, goes anywhere. And there's different kinds of meditation. There's sound meditation, there's like breath meditation, there's touch meditation and stuff like that. And then after meditation, then we have like Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. Pratyahara is a bridge, and Dharana, Dhyan is like going more into like a meditative state, and Samadhi has also multiple forms which I'm not aware about. It's kind of difficult, and it's really hard to find the real guru who can teach this, because there's very less people right now. What do you feel like?
I completely agree. I think that like at the level of expertise in the training and the wisdom that I've accumulated from all my masters before me, like it's not that I can't just pick up the phone and call one of my old yoga teachers and be like, can you deepen my practice as my guru? We don't live in a world where, you know, gurus live in mountains and you can go travel to them and be like, you know, please humble me with more knowledge, right? So we have to grow. I think this is where Sangha, that community aspect, comes in. I think that we're constantly teachers. One of my favorite, I don't know if this is originally in India, but something that we do in America a lot at the end of yoga practice is a student in me sees a student in you, the teacher in me, the teacher in you. And I still love borrowing this and utilizing it because it's humbling and it connects us further. And it allows us to find that stress relief of like realizing that even if I'm a teacher with all this experience, there's still students that can do those things better than me. There's still students that can find that meditation better. And that in of itself is a meditation, right? Humbling yourself, again, coming back to presence. It starts with presence, right? But also that awareness, right? Because we can go to our guru. We can go to these people that we can learn from. And they can only teach us so much. In fact, you might see on movies or TV or even in your own life, you've seen the scene where the master says, I cannot teach you anything else. You must go on your own, right? And I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. And that actually comes from movement. And so one thing, why I love moving meditation is because especially I'm actually high functioning autism, ADHD. We don't call it autism anymore, but I basically have like, the way I look at the world is very different anyways, but I also like, I have to move. Like it just makes me feel good. It stabilizes my nervous system. So for somebody like me, it's very difficult for me to stay still. So it actually takes even more
So you
effort.
like moving meditation?
I love moving meditation. But then when I get enough moving meditation, I can find complete stillness for hours. And, you know, of course, in China, we had to do that. You know, when we're at school, that traditional stance of like here, sitting here while the teacher's talking, that just drives me insane. Like, I want to move. That's why I love like the new educational schools.
When you were in China, were other students Chinese or they were from different parts of the
world? So we were in the small little groups. So we had Chinese students as well. We had people from other countries. I had a lot of people from Britain. And a lot of the monks, especially the head monks, could speak English enough for us to understand.
Oh, they were speaking.
Yeah,
so the courses were designed in English.
Well, I wouldn't say the course was designed in English, but it was probably like 25% English, enough to get by, you know, broken English, and then the rest was in Chinese. So like we learned, like, you know, for example, here's a great example of the interconnection between Chinese Shaolin Wushu and Ashtanga Yoga Sanskrit, and that's stances. So asana stances. You have Mabu, which is horse stance, which translates to Kali asana, right? Kali stance. And then you have something like Pabu, which is no different than Skandasana. That's a side lunge stance. And you'll see these stances are so similar, right? And it's like, yeah. So
you're connecting both Chinese version of like Kung Fu and what you learn and the Indian version of like Ashtanga Yoga together. Yeah, which is really nice. Cool one. Coming back to the mindfulness and the topic of the discussion today, which is depression, stress, and professional life. We talked about, like, I'm just summarizing. One thing is living in present moment, talking about things with your loved ones, talk it out, doing yoga more often. Meditation is also one of the keys. Anything else you want to add in these things?
Yeah, I think that it's that journey of exploration.
Just explore what works best for you. Go in different ways and work it out. Because everyone is a different self, different human being.
The very first form of meditation you should practice is a meditation of conscious awareness of moving towards something that feels right. You know, maybe you're not ready to go to a yoga studio. Maybe you feel like, oh, I'm too big, or I'm not going to be flexible enough or strong enough. First of all, it doesn't matter what body shape you are. But even in the case you're not ready for it, explore something. Tap in to asking yourself, write it down, journal, and write the question, what do I need?
What do I need to be answered? What are the questions I have?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then that moving meditation, if you will, let that be part of your program.
Moving meditation, again, if I want to clarify, it's like you are walking and you are like here concentrating on your breath. Is that what moving
that's one form, but also moving meditation can be indeed journaling. You're moving your arm, you're moving your hand, you're creating all
just moving your hand, that's it, or painting you are talking about.
Painting, writing, even typing. The fact that you're moving your body at all,
any kind of movement.
Any kind of movement can become
cooking
a meditation.
Also.
Yes, cooking, making love, having a fun time with your friends, watching TV, going to see a movie. You can find a meditative state while moving or in stillness. In my classes, I like to invite the audience to also explore this too. How can you find movement in your body and stillness in your mind, or stillness in your body but movement in your mind, and be aware of this and just practice that, and then find movement with both your mind, your chitta-vritti, your monkey mind, and your body. Like, let your chitta-vritti lead your body. Like, do something funny, do something wild, but then also try to take control of it. Try to find stillness and softness with the chitta-vritti, the monkey mind, and stillness in your body, and explore that too. If you just master one of those paths, you've only mastered 1/4 of your humanity. You have to master all of those different styles of being, in my opinion, to really find what works the best for you.
Also, some people go in the path of distraction in order to basically don't feel stressed and don't think about what is not working for them, right? So think about this as, I have some personal issues, but I distract myself deliberately, like I go and travel, or maybe I will go and do something which lets my mind do not think about the bad things, just think about the good things. What do you have like any suggestions and comments on that?
That's probably the big thing, right? So you see people at different levels in their wellness journey. They don't know what to do, so they distract themselves. They do know what to do, but the thing that they're doing becomes a distraction now. I see a lot of students to go to yoga as a distraction instead of an intentional practice to find wellness, right? So it comes back to presence, right? So I think that whatever we do, number one, we can't, again, coming back to control, we can't control how people feel and how they're going to be. But if people are ready, are they consciously aware of what they're needing in life? And right now, that awareness is to find something that's not a distraction, it's something that's going to help them with wellness. That's already step one, right? It's moving from that, how can I turn this distraction? And maybe that distraction can be healthy. Playing that video game that you really like, or that board game you really like, or going on a date, or going for a hike, or going to yoga class. Instead of letting that be a distraction, let it be intentional. So inviting that sense of intention to what it is you're doing can now lead your life in a much more positive way. Now you're doing things from your soul, from your heart.
Not like distracted way,
exactly.
But you are doing it by willingly, basically.
Right.
Got it. I have one last question. Can you tell me about the tattoos that you have, like, and where did you like make it from? These are very innovative and very different. Actually.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I got a lot of tattoos. The first tattoo I got was actually when I was 18. It's on my back. It's down my back. I'm really big fan of Japanese culture, especially the samurai idea. And while the samurai had a lot of horrible things that they did, just as any cultures had their not so good moments, the samurai have something that I really deeply believe in, and that's Bushido. And so down my back is Bushido. It's basically the samurai code of honor. You can look into that more. So that was the first one. The second one I got is the tattoo on my shoulder. It means in Chinese Bao, which is to protect or defend.
You got it from here in US or?
Yeah, I got all of my tattoos except for these two on my chest here in America. These two on my chest I got in Japan. I practiced a religious faith called Druidry, and my mother actually comes from the Druids. It's a religion of people that believe in worshiping nature and protecting nature, and it's very similar to the Japanese Shinto, very similar to like Native American or just indigenous tribes.
Where this religion is from?
So it's apparently the oldest religion on the planet. So what I was taught, what was passed on to me, is that Druid is another pagan religion that nothing has been written down. unlike Hinduism, which we at least have the Bhagavad Gita, the sutras, those types of things.
How do you pronounce it?
Druidry. Druid is the name of the person. RY at the very end. Druidry is the practice.
This is the first time I'm hearing.
Yeah, it's a very ancient religion, and unfortunately, they faced a lot of persecution through Christianity, Islamic, Judaism. Emphasis on like trying to just delete anything that was multi god, polytheistic, if you will. And so there was a lot of time spaces like there's a lot of public information on like what happened to the Druids, but it's still such a hush subject that it's hard to find a lot of details on what they actually did. But Druidry is basically a combination of what you think Native Americans do with like practicing community, protecting nature, as in like growing trees, growing flowers, understanding and mastering all that stuff.
Got it.
But
so
anyways,
that's that sign.
so a lot of these tattoos are representative of that particular religion. So on my right side, I have the alphabet from the Ogam alphabet. Each one represents a tree, represents a meaning, has a elemental relation to it as well. Symbols up here are also druidic. It's similar to Native American animal totems, if you will. These are animals that I've been basically gifted by my family, by my spiritual leaders.
Animals.
Yeah, these are actual animals. So I've got here the falcon and the wolf, and eventually I'll get the monkey on here and the dragon. So those are the 4 animals that kind of represent the spirit that I am, according to the Druid way. This side I got the Futhark, which is the Old Norse alphabet. Did that mostly because I really am into like anything that has to do with incantations. I love sutras. I love things that connect us to the divine, to the universe. So it was a language created to really not only talk to each other. It became what is today modern Norwegian, but is a language that has since long been gone, but they use it to cast runes, which are the Futhark. So that's all, it's more magical stuff. Got the homunculus tattoo on my left hand for 2 reasons. This is based on an anime, Full Metal Alchemist, but it represents the dragon that constantly eats itself. So it's about constant rebirth. And that's kind of the purpose, is like reminding myself, and it's also very Buddhist, it's very like samsara, right? Of like constantly growing and constant like we get into Shavasana, we die and then we're reborn. It's that constant ebb and flow and rebirth. So I did that. Druid symbol as well here, representing wisdom, knowledge, and love, the connection and the rules of Druidry. I was married before, so I had initially the yin and yang tattoo on my fingers. And I just evolved that after I got divorced to get in the next stage of my life, and I did a sun and a moon instead. Got different swords here. Each one represents basically courage, strength, and wisdom. They're from different animes or games that I've played in the past.
Nice.
This one on my right arm actually is from the game Dungeons and Dragons, which is a game where, like Lord of the Rings, you take on the role of a character. You work with players in the game to overcome obstacles, tasks, environments using magic or skills or things like that. And it's not a real world game, it's like a role-playing game. But this tattoo is to honor the first one I ever played, because one of my friends back in high school passed away when we were 19. So to honor him, all of my friends did tattoos of our respective characters for that campaign on our arm. So that was to represent that.
So every tattoo has some meaning behind
Exactly,
which is really great,
Yeah.
which I think I get to know from you. And I think I also heard somewhere like yoga gurus or yoga teachers have some tattoos and
Sure.
stuff. One of my friends told me, "Oh, you are a yoga instructor. Why don't you have it?" I don't have a single tattoo. You know, I'm scared of like tattoos. You know, I never had a tattoo before. Like it's a different perspective. You know, everyone is different. From my perspective, it's like I should treat my body as natural, what God has given me. I should not do anything. But I also like drawing things on my body which I am fully connected with, as you mentioned. But I'm not fully connected with anything right now. Like maybe Shiva. I should draw things about Shiva, like Trishul, the trident, or Krishna, or whatever.
Beautiful.
But I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah.
But good that you have a lot of tattoos. Because you know, I have traveled a lot. I've been to 40 countries. Wherever I travel, there I met a guy who do not buy souvenirs. Like usually we have a tendency to buy souvenirs from wherever we go. He makes tattoo wherever he goes from that country. So basically, I met him in Peru. He made the tattoo of Inca gods on his arm.
Wow.
Then he went to Colombia. He made the tattoo of Pablo Escobar. He then Mexico, Chichen Itza.
Wow, so just like a traveling tattoo body.
Traveling tattoo.
That's
So
cool.
everywhere he has a story of like, oh, I made this from there. I made this is a story about that. This story about that. So it's kind of interesting when you meet people like that, right?
Yes.
So he has been to like 90 countries so far. He has small tattoos from all over the world. So which is kind of, and he went to India. He made Taj Mahal. Kind of thing. So yeah,
I love it. I really like that you brought up like you honor your body's temple. I have a similar thought. It's just I come from a little bit different perspective. Like I want to honor my body by also exposing it. Like my body doesn't belong to me. It belongs to me only in the sense that I can move it, I have control over it. But I want it to be in use and service to the world. And if showing art on that to get people to be interested, to maybe inspire them, might be more powerful than just like a handshake or a hug, you know. And not just that, but also like overcoming like my fear of needles or overcoming like this idea that we have to look a certain way. The world is set up where we're systematically basically oppressed to be a certain way so we can conform. And while there's a lot of benefit to some form of conformity, the individuality of a person is just as important, right? You know, just like the Bhagavad Gita talks about, like we are all part of each other and we're all part of, you know, Shiva. We're all part of everything else in the world, and everything within us is indeed part of the world itself, right?
We are part of everyone
Yes,
is part of
exactly.
it.
So yeah, and so for me it's like this is just flesh, right?
Yeah.
So I can,
it will go one day.
it will go one day.
The soul will remain. That's what it
Exactly.
talks about. It keeps
Right.
on taking births and births.
Yeah,
So
so-
yeah, good man. So any final advice or anything you want to share as a final thought to the audience? That
Yeah.
you feel like?
Final thoughts here will be the quickest of these answers. What you should do on a day-to-day basis is find ways to consciously take care of yourself. I always start my day by drinking hot water, enjoying a little bit of sun, splashing my face. I like to take a shower every morning to cleanse off the day before. I also take a shower at night, depending on how much dirt I've accumulated throughout the day. Eating healthy meals. I'm vegetarian myself.
You're vegetarian.
I am, yes.
Nice.
I don't eat meat, but I try to be conscious about everything I do throughout my day. I'm not perfect. And when I come in, when you come across the day with obstacles, whether that's at work, within a relationship, I just bring yourself to presence. You're not going to win every fight. You're not going to win every role that you're in. Like even if you're a really good role at work, sometimes they let you go for no reason. Sometimes they let you go for a reason. We have to keep on keeping on. And I believe the more you continue to plant the seeds to align your life to your greatest good, the things that align with you the most from your heart, to do what you love doing and become that and feel that and be that and then show that and then pervade in that, you'll be more successful. So day by day, take each day at a time, planting little seeds of not just hope but also intention. Intuition will come with that, and the more you practice that mindfulness, the more you practice wellness overall with your body, your mind, your spirit, your sexual health, your physical health, your respiratory health, all of the health systems, and you bring it all together. You build community on the outside, you build the right people, the right connections that align with you. Your life will inevitably be better.
Will be better and will be wonderful and will blossom.
Exactly.
Basically. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Thank you so much again to be in the show. It was so wonderful to have you.
Thank you.
I learned a lot from you. Different perspective you bring from different part of the world. And I'm so grateful and thanks to be in the channel, and I wish you luck and all the health, happiness will be prospering you, and thank you so much again for the channel.
Thank you, Manish. I really appreciate it. I'm very humbled and honored to be here. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend. Absolutely. Thank you.